Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're taking a look at Vikings Gone Wild, the board game by Lucky Duck Games.
So we specified board game because it's originally based on the Vikings Gone Wild app, which is not that great. I've actually been playing it a lot getting ready for this review, and it's one of those games where you're building up a little town, so you want to have your things to make resources, and then have your little storage containers to store resources, but everything's in real time. So you're like, okay, I'm going to upgrade this so I can make more gold. That's going to take 7 hours. So I guess I'm just going to turn this app off and then come back 7 hours later. And the real meat of what they want you to do in the game is build a bunch of guys and then go off and fight other towns. And there's default towns in the game that is just fighting the AI. They get really hard really fast. But what they want you to do is go off and fight other players. So you make your little town and you go to someone else's town and you can fight it and you can steal their resources. And even if they come to your town and they kill your buildings, it's not like your buildings are gone, because that would really suck if you didn't play for a day and you came back and you're like, oh, it took me literally days to get all this stuff built and now it's gone. They just steal some of your resources. And it's really a good money pit because they just want you to buy these stupid little gems that speed up the building time so you're not waiting on anything. But I think they're done with me talking about the app. I want to talk about the game.
I was about to say, so you may not know this, but this is actually a review of the f***ing app. And yeah, that is Lucky Duck's main thing, is their kind of mission statement is, kids are always on phone these days. It's a great way to tear them away from that, to port things that they're familiar with on the phone onto the table. Hence Vikings Gone Wild, Zombie Tsunami, Jetpack Joyride, Fruit Ninja, and the Mutants one. Boom. First try.
Making it a deck builder and making it, you still have the interaction where you're fighting other players. You definitely want to create, buy your heroes, your warriors and things to go fight other players. You're still getting resources, but I'm glad it doesn't take as long as that app, because that just sounds horrible having to wait that long.
7 days. 7 days.
In this one, you being a deck builder, you're going to be getting your resources. This is kind of, I'd say, a deck builder and an engine builder, because you can buy cards that go into your hand, and you also buy cards that are buildings that you put instantly in play that'll start making you resources that'll allow you to buy more things. So you kind of have an engine that you're building, and you also have to upgrade your town so you can hold more things in your engine, and then also getting good cards in your hand.
Mm-hmm. So that is the thing that makes this game a little different. Now, I always say that I think deck building games are one of my favorite categories, and one of the reasons why I love that is because they are all so similar in that, I don't need to relearn a game. I just need to be okay, standard deck building,
this is the
premise.
attack resource, this is the purchase resource, this is the third resource maybe.
All you need to do is, just tell me that. Just tell me the differences. Here's this, here's that, here's that. But that's a double-edged sword, because then a lot of deck builders kind of feel the same. So this is not the most unique, you know what I mean? If we're looking at Legendary, DC, Ascension, Star Realms, those all seem pretty similar. Clank, Tyrants, that's a pretty big dive away. This is kind of in the middle, because the biggest difference is, like Aaron said, is that you're not just building your hand, you have the static cards that you're building as well. And
it kind of feels like Dominion with those static cards, like the buildings, because they're always available. Mm-hmm. There is a row that is kind of like a lineup that constantly changes. So you have 2 different places to buy from. There are there's hand cards that you can the warriors and things you can buy that are always there as well. When you get to certain thresholds of your point score, you get these really epic cards, which are cool. So there's they definitely added some things, but yeah, it does kind of feel generic deck builder. I do like that you do attack other players. There are some deck builders where it's you're not really strictly attacking people. Legendary, you're working together to beat the game. You're not attacking each other.
Yeah, and DC, the cards will come out and they attack everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I do think that the it is more closely towards the generic deck builder than it is a super unique deck builder like Clank or Tyrants, where you're interacting with the board, but the uniqueness is that there is the static cards that are always there and the line that's moving. There's the hand that's always different and the static cards in front of you. So there's a lot of different paths to victory, so to speak, right?
I also really like kind of how resources work, which is part of how it ties in really well to the app, is that you can build storage containers where resources hold over into the next round. So if you're like, oh, I really want to buy that, I'm going to store these gold for now, and then next round I'll have that much more gold plus the gold in my hand, and then you can attack the specific resource. It's not just attacking you. I can pick like which building I'm attacking. So if you're storing up gold, I can attack your gold storage and try to steal that gold away from you. And like where I didn't really care for that in the app, I thought it worked so well in the board game, and to give it that little bit of uniqueness. And there's also the goals that you're going for, where it's like, oh, if you can steal this many gold from an opponent, or if you can have this much gold in storage at the end of your turn, which is, again, in the app, there's a little, like, missions they want you to go on. So many things. Like, at first I'm like, man, this app is so much worse than the game, but it does port over. Like, you can really see a lot of similarities between the two. It's just done so much better here.
Now that you mentioned the mission cards, I don't know why I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah, that is probably the other most unique thing about this. Most deck builders don't have victory points that can be scored like a one-time thing.
Like mid-game, at least, yeah.
And the end games, there's the end game scoring missions too, where everybody's trying to get, like you said, either the most heroes or the most. There's it kind of changes the way you're going to build your deck. Everybody's going to like kind of divide. Oh, do I want to go for this one or this one? Like having the most buildings. You can't
the most attack cards.
You can't do all of those things.
You can do most of those
Challenge
things.
accepted.
But when he was talking about attacking, so you can also defend too. There's attack cards you buy, and if you see one player's buying a lot of attack and going that route, you can buy a lot of defend cards. Because attacking is a pretty significantly like good strategy. Because if you can get a lot of attack cards in one turn, the more attacks you do in that one turn, they stack. The points you get stack up really fast, and it can almost be like, with deck building, there's a lot of RNG anyways, but you can almost have like that perfect draw where you have a lot of attack and you realize, especially in a two-player game, and you realize he doesn't have any defense cards. Attack, and it's kind of hard to come back from that, really.
I think the only negative I have for this game is when somebody starts to win the game, they can kind of get away, and the game just kind of ends abruptly. Like, once somebody gets to that threshold of, it changes in the different amount of different amount of players. There's different thresholds for
30 and 40, really.
So once it hits that point, the game just ends. It can kind of like get there quickly. Like once one player is scoring lots of points from they're doing attacks or they're having a full resource storage thing on the end of their turn or whatever. If they're gathering points all the time, the game just kind of like just ends, and I feel like I just built up this good engine, and I feel like I just wanted to keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, you can house rule that. I think it's weird that it's 40 to end in a two-player game, but in a 3 and 4-player game, it's 30, or maybe it's just 4-player game of 30. I don't know, but I agree with you that sometimes it just feels like it just ends abruptly, and you could probably house rule it to where it's not the first person to get to 40, it's the person to get to 60. But I do think they also said like 60 is the max or something, but you can also house rule that again too.
You could, and we haven't done that, but I am a little worried that most engine building games, if they let you just keep building your engine, you're just gonna, like, the first person to get there, like, how can you catch up if your engine is one step behind my engine? So, like, yes, but maybe they play tested it and that, okay, well, that person's gonna win either way, so we may as well call it now.
So my only question is, I wonder if in the expansions, there's like some stuff with some catch-up mechanisms. I don't know. We haven't played the expansions yet. Who knows?
So I'm kind of in the same boat with Tom, where deck building is one of my favorite game mechanics. I think I said it's my second favorite, just behind worker placement. So most deck builders, I'm already going to be like, oh, it's a deck builder. Like, it's fun. But I also have a lot of deck builders to compare it to because I've played a bunch of them. And I do think that this game does add enough uniqueness that I do want to add it to my collection. Like, there's some deck builders like Ascension, where I'm like, this is a great game, but I can't really justify adding it to my collection because there's so many other deck builders out there, and this one doesn't have quite enough to make it pop. I think that the theme of this is great. It has just a little bit with like the resources and like the board. It feels different than other deck builders. So I do really enjoy it. I haven't played a lot of their games yet, but so far, this is Lucky Duck's best game yet.
If you like deck builders like Dominion and Penny Arcade, where you have guaranteed cards that are always out there, that you can kind of have a strategy that you've already predetermined, but also like deck builders like Legendary and DC, where there's a lineup that's constantly changing, this kind of mixes them both together. So you have, you can have variety and have something you can shoot for each round. I think this game is great. They added a lot of new things to deck builders with having like an actual physical resource that you can collect, plus the resource that you play on your card, which you can't keep if you don't use, but you can keep the ones that you've collected from your buildings if you have storage for them. Having the little missions definitely, gives it another unique twist on deck building. And if you're into this artwork, I think that's another plus. Like, it's just a goofy looking game that's very fun, and it's like, just Vikings drinking ale and stealing gold and beating each other up.
I will piggyback off of that art thing, because I'm actually really surprised at how much I enjoyed this game, even given the art. I've kind of gotten over a lot of my really weird stipulations on why I didn't like games beforehand. Like, again, playing Railways of the World, I never thought I would like that game because it's a train game, but I loved it. And, looking at this art, the me of 2 years ago would have been like, that looks dumb. I hate the cartoony art style. But I really don't care. I don't love cartoony art style still, okay? But that doesn't detract from how much I love this game. It is so much fun, which is also surprising to me because it isn't that much different from other deck builders. Like, I keep thinking the reason why I love Clank and Tyrants is because it adds a board and does something different with deck building and it's unique. Maybe I'm not actually that clever. Maybe it's much more subjective of just how much fun I have playing it, regardless of the mechanics and the uniqueness and all that stuff. I just have so much fun playing it every single time it hits the table. It's an absolute blast for me. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, you can go ahead and get yourself a copy with the purchase link we have in the description box down below.
Either way, you should subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
And we're taking a look at Vikings Gone Wild, the board game by Lucky Duck Games.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Girls Gone Well.
That was so good.
Yes! It's such a good
Oh my
night!
God.